Hi, my name is Mary Fratangeli, and I will be presenting my case study on my client Luca. Now, Luca is not his actual name, it is just his pseudonym for this case study. Who lives in Philadelphia. He lives at home with his mother and father who speak both English and Spanish. Luca has a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, intellectual disability, speech language impairment, ADHD, partial agenesis of the corpus callosum, and epilepsy, though his last seizure was back in 2019. Luca takes multiple medications daily that would be for drooling, ADHD, and for his appetite. Luca is primarily non-vocal. He does have multiple adapted signs that he uses on a daily basis. For examples, these would be go, put in, swing, sorry, please, mom, dad, love, friend, play, bathroom, game, walk, loud, car, truck, water, eat, beanbag, and drive. These are just a few examples of modified signs that would be used on a daily basis that Luca would want to tell us. He does have an AAC device, which is an augmented alternative communication device that he uses daily to be able to communicate with us more in depth with. We are currently working on his navigation of the device and him being able to fully tell us what it is he wants. Besides, when he is in his speech session, we give him multiple opportunities and manding throughout the whole day where he would be able to go through his device and tell me his needs. Luca does currently have 4 different behaviors that we are keeping data on, which would be grabbing, hitting, finger picking, and disruptive behavior. The behavior that is of concern at the current moment is that of his disruptive behavior. Disruptive behavior is defined as any combination of 2 or more of the following: aggression, which may look like hitting, grabbing, kicking, biting, pushing, pinching, or hair pulling; running, flopping, throwing items, climbing, and or crawling. This may include crying, with or without tears, laughing, whining, and or screaming. An example of this would be Luca running around the room, screaming, hitting his staff and peers, trying to avoid a task at hand. A non-example would be Luca participating in a group game activity that requires touching of peers, maybe by running and tagging others. What are the causes of the problem behavior? We wanted to see what was happening beforehand as well as after when this type of behavior was occurring. We took some ABC data as well as a functional behavioral analysis, or FBA. We were able to see if a demand had occurred or had he been denied access to a preferred item. We then looked at what behaviors were being exhibited as well as the duration of these behaviors. The behaviors tended to last for as little as 10 seconds all the way up to a lasting almost the entire day. After this, I took a look at whether or not we were reinforcing him through escapes from a demand or task. Were we giving him access to a preferred item? This gave me a pretty good reason as to what happened before the behaviors occurred, why it was occurring, and what was the after effect from this said behavior. With Luca, it seemed to be that when he was experienced low or lack of attention, an unpreferred task or demand, or even when there was no demand or task in place, he would react with disruptive behavior. This would in turn look like him running around the room, hitting his staff and peers within the room. He would try and headbutt, kick, or grab anyone that was close to him. What seemed to happen after he displayed this behavior was he would gain that staff member's or peers' attention, escape whatever demand was being placed upon him, avoid an activity, or even a transition. What interventions did we do? How did we utilize these? What we basically did was find different strategies for each different area we were seeing behaviors within. Within the antecedent setting, we would begin with making sure Luca had access to his multimodal communication. Luca would have access to this at all times. He will continue to be taught how to utilize other forms of communication, such as sign language and vocalizations, to access his preferred items as well as communication needs. During pre-session and pre-table pairing, staff will spend 1 to 3 minutes engaging with or allow Luca to engage with his preferred activities at the table prior to beginning his work. This could be playing with his Ernie doll, using his cars, trucks, blocks, watching a preferred video, or music without his iPad. We would then implement an errorless learning system. When we want to teach Luca a new task, we will immediately prompt the correct response so we do not allow Luca the opportunity to make an error. We will also implement a token system. We will use the token system with Luca that will be utilized primarily for increasing on-task behavior. So this would look like remaining in a seat, attending to the material, having safe hands, etc. Behavior momentum. Luca will be asked to comply with at least 3 to 4 high probability demands, which would be of mastered material, before given a more difficult task, such as a new target. He will also take part in a sensory diet. This is when Luca will need to engage in an individualized sensory diet plan and schedule throughout the day. This would look like heavy work, such as taking down chairs, doing yoga, delivering mail, restocking items, or even going for a walk. We would then go over some school expectations. So here we would remind Luca what is expected of him throughout the day at school. We would have our class rules. He would look at a picture board for having looking eyes, safe hands, and listening ears. He will also have hallway rules. Almost the same ones would apply. He would have looking eyes, safe hands, listening ears, and walking with his teacher. Within the behavior setting, we would want to work on replacing the behavior. We would begin with an FCT, functional communication training. Luca will be taught to independently advocate and request for his needs and wants throughout the use of his multimodal communication. An example of this would be for requesting for attention, specific foods, requesting access to a quieter environment, or even a specific room or peer. On-task work duration. Luca will be taught to remain on task, oriented towards his work, and respond to the directions or demands during his work session. We will also work on independent leisure skills. Luca will be taught to engage in independent leisure skills in the absence of problem behavior without receiving direct access to attention. We will also be working on emotional regulation. Luca will be taught to identify and choose effective calm down coping strategies to use as a way to engage in self soothing when escalated. We will also work on waiting. Luca will be taught to wait for chosen items when he requests an item. Staff will say it is not available and redirected to other preferred items that he can choose from. Within the consequence strategies, we will want to begin with engaging in high praise. This will be provided frequently and behavior specific for when Luca engages in appropriate or replacement behaviors. We will use a DRA, differential reinforcement of alternative behavior. Staff will provide Luca with attention for desired replacement behaviors. This may look like tickles, verbal praise, hugs, etc. Cooperating with task demands or activities. Staff should utilize behavior-specific praise. Great job washing your hands, Luca. I love how you're looking at me, Luca. I love how you're attending to the work, Luca. Disrupt the behavior. If this occurs during a demand, attempt to prompt to the next expected response, and then we will end that demand. Move to a preferred task or calming environment/activity. If this behavior occurs during a free choice, then we should modify the environment. We should pay attention to if there's a lot of noise going around. The overall outcome over this whole situation was we were able to lessen Luca's disruptive behavior. Though it is still present, we have been able to decrease the duration of the display of this behavior. We see it more along the lines of a few minutes at a time as opposed to hours or more. We have also been able to see more peer interaction by us implementing the use of his multimodal communication device more often. Luca is able to sign when he wants to see a friend or use his AAC device and specifically request for a person. This has helped to increase his desire to get positive desired attention as opposed to negative unwanted attention. He recognizes when he is able to get what it is he wants as opposed to being denied access. This has also in turn helped his transitions. As once this was a rocky area, it is much smoother now. Being able to request where he wants to go and being able to get there has been very beneficial. Thank you for attending my Case 1 study, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.